Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about how to stop working early. So this is a topic of conversation that I've been getting from a few of my subscribers, and I wanted to address that today as it pertains to retiring early, fire, whatever you may want to call it. And what I've noticed from a lot of entrepreneurs or investors is that although they have reached their goal, their financial goal, which is different for everyone, they have certain ambitions that still require them to continue working. And what I mean by that is just because you've reached a point in life where you may be able to retire does not mean that you're just going to go off and do that. Like I like to tell the people I work with or work for in some regards is that after 3 days of being in a home, like you just get very bored. You feel like you need something to do. You need something to push you on. In fact, there are studies done that show that a lack of motivation, a lack of having something to do has actually led to death in some men and women. So with that being said, I'm only going to go over certain topics that have led to my understanding of how you could achieve FIRE or your form of financial independence and retiring early. Number one, the easiest to get started in, and as well as the most complicated, I would say, to do is the stock market. And what about the stock market? Because there are so many different things that you can do within the stock market. So there's a lot to unwrap. And I like to go through the progressions of how I kind of learned the stock market. So from watching others, I've seen others invest in penny stocks, as you would see from my previous videos when I addressed that. But I started off with companies that were not penny stocks, so $10 and up. I had my Ford. I had a few companies that I had absolutely no idea about, amongst others. And I saw that I was using Robinhood at the time. There were parameters against swing trading and day trading, which was the next form of investing that I got into. Swing trading and day trading. When I was really big on swing and day trading, I would analyze about 5 different companies, watch them every single day, look at the news topics on it, and Robinhood is really good at giving you updated articles on those companies. And so you would see how volatile it was, and honestly it wasn't very volatile, and you would be able to swing trade these companies and make a profit daily, 5 days a week, which would then lead to significant gains. If you had, I don't know, $1,000 in your portfolio and you're doing 10% every single week, essentially you're getting $100 per week off of $1,000. At the end of the month, you've grown your portfolio by 40%. This is not the strategy that I use today because it is very time consuming, and it requires a lot of dedication. It requires a lot of knowledge, and it requires a lot of consistency, keeping up with these companies on a daily basis, right? I would never say to trade or swing trade a company in a matter of a day or a week or 2 weeks of just getting to understand one. And so swing trading and day trading, although less risky than some of the topics that I will cover today, is not what I do today, which is I'm a growth stock dividend investor. And before I get into that, there are some other things that I want to cover, which are options trading. Options trading is something that I believe is gambling, and we see how gambling is now rapid across our country, across our nation, whether it be FanDuel, sports betting, all those other things that's coming about. If you want to do those things for fun and it's not a significant portion of your income that you're using, if you would have spent the same $10 on, I don't know, getting a drink at the bar, then you can go ahead and try your luck on that just for some educational purposes. But I would never, ever invest in options trading because it's not an investment. And the more you lose, the more you want to gain back, and therefore you put more money in and you lose more money as a result. 90% of day traders 90% of options traders fail. And because of that, only 10% will succeed. I do not believe that. The majority of my viewers are going to be in the 10%. And so we stick to more logic-based analogies on how to get rich and retire early. Dividend investing is the long game when it comes to retiring early. So if you're in your 30s or 40s and you're just now starting a stock dividend growth portfolio and you want to diversify by using your dividends and using compound interest and rolling that over, you're going to need a lot more cash, a lot more capital in order to make some headway. So if you are in your 30s or 40s, I may have to persuade you to move in a route of more growth stocks like a Netflix, like a Tesla, like a Amazon, like a Google, and see which companies you believe in, which companies you like, which companies you want to invest in for the next 10, 15 years. And that will definitely give you a boost and a head start on catching up. But the thing about growth stocks is that you have to sell it in order to capture the gains. Whereas a dividend, you don't have to sell it, and it cash flows for you consistently. And then over time, over years, that dividend just continues to grow. So I started at pennies, and then I went to $1, then I went to $10, then I went to $20, $30, $40, $50, $60, $70 a month, right? And then it just continues. Every single month I'm adding on to it, and that dividend continues to grow, and it's diversified over 32 dividend companies and then 2 growth stocks that I have. So with that being said, if you're playing the long game, if you want to retire at 55 rather than 65, dividend growth stocks can be a great way to get ahead. I look at blue chip companies. I look at dividend aristocrats. What that means is companies that have had their dividend, grown their dividend, kept their dividend, and paid out their dividend over a 25-year period. It might be 20 years. I have to double back and look. But I look at dividend aristocrats and blue chip companies, and then I look for my 2 growth companies. I look at those FANGs, which would be Tesla right now, which is kind of the Tang in FANG. Tesla, Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google, right? So that's the FANGs, and now they're calling it Tang because Tesla is in that category. And then, of course, the stock market is so much to uncover, so much to unpack. But another way to retire early is through real estate as well. In this season that we're in, high interest rates, high inflation, it's going to be very, very difficult to buy property when everything is not affordable, especially in places like New York and California, where I'm originally from. Now is definitely more unaffordable to buy. Whereas just in 2020, 2019, you could have bought a property in New York and California for very, very cheap because interest rates were 2.625%. So many government-backed programs, so many initiatives and incentives that are given to first-time home buyers, especially in the state of New York, right? So a lot of people don't understand these things, don't understand that they could have gotten to a multifamily property. They could have rented out their basement. They could have rented out their rooms. They could have rented out several things in order to achieve cash flow now, start paying less in rent than what they were paying, and start to build equity within that home. So maybe they sell and move and buy something cash later, or they just rent the whole thing out completely later on. New York and California is like the worst states to have tenants, but that's a little political there. But it's a great start in terms of getting some cash, getting some equity, getting some great foundational work to set yourself apart in your later years. 10, 15, 20 years from now, you could easily sell that and buy any property in any other state, right? So, I mean, that's the mindset that you need to have. If you're 30, 35, even 40 years old, in 20 years, you'd be 60. You could sell that property and you would still retire early. And that's just with one, right? And so when I look at New York, to me, I'm in Columbus, Ohio. And what I do is I just buy multiple properties here where they're 150 to 300,000, and after you have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, if you decide to sell half of those, you can buy any property any way you want. So again, the same game, just with more moving pieces. And so that still requires you to be on top of your finances. That requires you to have good credit. That requires you to have cash. That requires you to just be a responsible person. That requires you to manage people, your time, and your business, right? And so there's a lot that goes on to that too. If you want to do both, if you want to do one or the other, it takes time to understand, to learn. And that's what my channel is here for. So let me know what you prefer, what you want to do to get ahead. And the one thing I didn't talk about in this is just simply being an entrepreneur, starting a business. And we will cover that as well in some later episodes. If you like this video, make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. You know I post every single day at 8 a.m. daily, and I can't wait to see you on the next one. Peace.